synonymous as Hovis is to bread, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it true that when you first saw yourself on the big screen, that you threw up?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yeah. We were in South Africa, and I was making a picture called Zulu, and I'd never played a big part in a movie. I'd had a couple of lines, and I'd never been invited to rushes. You know, I was just a small bit actor. And you always have a vision of yourself, which is whatever good things about yourself. And I went to rushes, and this sort of figure came on, really weird-looking figure with this very strange voice. And I thought, what a Burke. And then I went, it's me, and threw up. You do. The movie camera really gets into you,
yes,
you know, and it's a big screen.
30 foot high, aren't you?
You know, and you think you're so great, and then you look up and you go, oh, my God. And I thought my career was over.
What's been, if you look back at that time, that long and distinguished career you've had in movies, what's been the reason why you've lasted, do you think? I know it's a tough question to ask you, but I mean, what is it?
Well, I think it's a style of acting I do. A lot of actors, they hold up a picture and say, this is me, and you look at it and you go, oh, God, isn't he great? Isn't he wonderful? And we'll all go and see him, and it's wonderful, and we love him. And then you have another type of actor, which is like me, who holds up a mirror and he says, this is you. And you go, how does he know that about me? And I know that about all of you.
And does that come about naturally or by watching people, by looking at
By watching people. You know, a lot of actors sort of train themselves by watching other actors on stage or on television or in the film. I used to train by watching people on the bus or on the tube and see their reactions. That's how I trained, because I was a method actor, you know.
Did you train that way? Did you learn that way?
Yeah. I got the book. I didn't train in some studio with Marlon Brando or something.
Or Stanislavski.
Or Stanislavski, yeah. But it was Stanislavski. And Stanislavski is basically is to study people.
Yes.
And look at the smallest behaviour. And also with Stanislavski, the basis of that of acting with Stanislavski is the rehearsal is the work and the performance is the relaxation.
Yes.
And so when you go in front of a camera, you're completely relaxed, as you can see.
Yeah. But that's easier said than done, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Takes
you
years
get people
and
who are
years
terrified,
yeah. Exactly. Now, let's talk about this new film of yours, a fascinating new movie called The Prestige. First of all, explain, if you would, what The Prestige means.
The Prestige is about magicians, and magicians have all magicians have a description for a trick which is in 3 parts. There's the pledge, where they will sort of say, this is a hand, right? This is, you say it's just an ordinary hand. That's the pledge. And there's the turn, which is where, with misdirection, they turn it, and then they show you the dove, the rabbit or something. That's the prestige, the final part.
Right.
And in our picture, we have the best... It's all about misdirection. And we have the best misdirection you can think of. We have Scarlett Johansson in a costume that's one size too small.
That's about right.
Yeah, it's good misdirection.
It's good misdirection.
Nobody watches it.
Absolutely not. It's a good cast, too. Christian Bale, and there's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And Christopher Nolan's directed it, who you worked with on Batman.
We did Batman together.
That's right. But you're a central figure in it. But what's it's about? It's set at the turn of the century, and it's about... I mean, these guys, these magicians in those days, they were like the rock stars.
Yeah, they were the rock stars at the time, and movie stars, and they were very big. I mean, if you think in terms of it, everyone still knows the name Harry Houdini.
Sure.
You know, he was then. This is set in Victorian England, and it's not just about magicians, it's about obsession. And these two wind up trying to murder each other.
That's right.
You know. And it's very weird movies, because this is about Victorian England, and we shot the entire thing in downtown Los Angeles. Everything was shot in down, and you see it, you say, yeah, that's England, that's just like England. But it's London in Victorian time. It's
a wonderful evocation, actually. It's beautiful over the designs. It's marvellous. Let's have a look at this clip. Sets up the 3 characters, the 3 main characters.
Yeah, it's the 2 magicians, and I'm the old guy who makes all the tricks.
You make all the tricks. Let's have a look at this.
If you want to see what it takes to make real magic, go to the Tenley. There's a Chinaman there, and he really has what it takes.
Changling Su. Tickets are pricey, I can't afford that.
I know the bloke on the door. You two go and see that show, and whichever one of you can tell me how he does the goldfish bowl trick gets the prize.
Right. Which is?
10 minutes on stage with my old friend, Mr. Ackerman.
Really?
Who's Ackerman?
The top theatrical agent in London.
Are you fascinated by magic?
Well, not really. I very early on, you know, when I was a kid, you'd go to those little parties in the country that takes a penny out of your ear and all that, and then someone buys you a magic set for Christmas or something like that, you know. And I got a magic set, and I was showing it, and I spilt the invisible ink over the tablecloth. Then I spilt the formula, and the whole thing went black. And my magical career ended with a smack round the ear roll. That was it. I never went back. But I tell you who did fascinate me. Long time ago, Siegfried and Roy, I was in Paris, and I saw them at the Casino de Paris. They were just starting out. I think they make lions and tigers disappear. Absolutely. I think they had German shepherds and pussycats at that time. They couldn't afford the big animals, you know. But they fascinated me, Siegfried and Roy, and I always followed them until just a few years ago. I was in Las Vegas with them, and it's quite extraordinary what they do.
It's interesting because that is like part of the film as well, isn't it? Because in the film you see all the way that these tricks are done.
Yes.
And again, it's a puzzle within a riddle, it's an extraordinary film with many layers to it. The director, Christopher Nolan, said something quite interesting. He said that the director's film directing is like magic, in fact. It's all about illusion.
Well, this would, if you think of it, you're dealing with actors and the cinema.
Yeah.
You're dealing with obsessives and illusion. And that's exactly what magicians are.
Yeah.
Obsessives dealing with illusion. So
yes.
it's quite simple for the cinema to put magicians and magic on the screen. And if you're lucky, you get a little touch of extra magic if you have a great director, which is what we did.
And of course, at the centre of all this, for all that's magic, and you can see how the magic is done, some of it's explained, at the centre of this, there's a mystery, an essential mystery, which might or might not have to do with magic.
Oh, yes, yeah, because there is a point in the movie, I remember a line where I'd say, this is not magic, it's real.
This is what we've got here.
Yeah.
This is the apparatus.
Yes.
Right, let's have a look at that.
Don't let him take this.
Why ever not?
It's too dangerous.
I'm sure beneath its bells and whistles, it's got a simple and disappointing trick.
Most disappointing of all, sir. It has no trick. It's real.
It's a thrilling mystery, and it's an intriguing movie, it really is. Yeah. Now, there's Christopher Nolan, the director you mentioned there. You worked with on the Batman movie, Batman Begins.
Yeah.
You played Alfred.
The butler.
The butler, eh?
Yeah, I was the butler.
Yeah. And you
butler, and I always say to people, the butler didn't do it.
No,
but I wouldn't do it.
But you played him, according to what I've read, you played him in a bit more an assertive way than the normal butler. I mean, you gave him a kind of a distinctly...
Yeah, the actors do a backstory if there isn't one in the script, and there wasn't one for him. And my backstory with the butler was that he was an ex-SAS man, so making him very tough. I use a voice which is very military, like it's a copy of a sergeant I hated in the army. And I had him, having been wounded, he didn't want to leave the SAS, so he put him in. He went into the sergeant's mess, which is where he learned to serve drinks, and so that's how Batman got this extraordinarily tough butler.
Yeah. Well, why do those military guys have those extraordinary voices? I mean, why do RSMs get their voice on?
Yeah, they all talk like that. It's right. Yeah, it's get over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
They talk like that always.
Yeah, they do all the time. I remember the first thing a sergeant said to me in the army. He said, "Right," he said, "you lot get fell in threes. That's one behind the other twice." And he said, "I'll march you down the cookhouse to save you walking." That's the voice. That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah. I mean, when you made that film too, there was a reminder, wasn't there, of the first movie that you ever did, because the soundstage that you worked on.
Yeah, the big set in Batman Begins was the first movie I ever did where I had 8 lines and fouled up 7 of them. It was called A Hill in Korea. And they only gave me this little part because I was also the technical advisor because I was a soldier in Korea. But they had this big set at Shepperton, and this was the big set with the Bat Cave in Batman, was the set of the hill emplacement in A Hill in Korea. Exactly the same studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you look back on that point, I mean, see, you had this extraordinary apprenticeship. You left school at 16, you went national service, you were an infantry man, a beetle crusher.
Yes.
You went out to Korea. I mean, that must have been hairy, actually, Korea, wasn't it? I mean, there were actually...
Oh, yeah. I can't even see a war film. I wouldn't go and see a war film because it fools everybody. You know, they fool young men, you know, My friend, who eventually became my friend John Wayne, fooled me. I went and saw him, and you go out there killing all the enemy and all that. Nobody tells you they're going to kill you.
Yes, sir.
You go out there and slaughter all these terrible people, and it's a terror that you couldn't even impart it to anyone else. Infantrymen never talk about anything like that to each other, because you just know, and it's just. And I see these guys in Iraq, and I think, oh my God. Yeah. What the hell are we doing?
It's a simplicity, I know, but the world is divided into those people who actually see wars on movies and those who actually veto war.
Yeah, well, I think if you could all have a day of real war, the world would be an entirely different place.
What was the most frightened that you were in Korea?
I was on a patrol in the middle, four of us, there were four of us, and we were on a patrol in the paddy fields. It was like First World War. We were in hills facing each other in trenches, you know, like that. And everyone tries to patrol and control no man's land at night. And I was on a patrol out there. And it's a very funny thing. The first time you know there are Chinese there. We were fighting the Chinese army at that time. Yes. Chinese is they all ate garlic, and you suddenly smell garlic. I never quite smelled garlic again without getting a slight twinge of fear. And what happened was, and you could hear them all around us shouting. And at that moment, there comes a moment when you're a soldier when you know you're going to die. And now you have to make a decision what you're going to do. And all four of us said, let's make it as expensive as possible. And what we did was we charged towards their lines. And of course, they were waiting for us the other side. And we went right through the paddy fields, right round the back and everything. It took forever. And finally wound up home. But that was a defining moment in my life, because I knew that I could face death, and I went, it's going to be expensive for anybody.
Extraordinary story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite weird when you... But also, things you never see in a movie about a war. We're in the paddy fields, mosquitoes, right? When we got back, we looked at each other, and you put the ointment on and all the bullshit and stuff, and when we got back, our faces were puffed up with just little slitty eyes. And we couldn't look at each other. It was like monsters. I've never seen that in a war film about the jungle or anything. And that was every evening. It wasn't a surprise. It happened every evening.
You did the national service, and then you went into rep. And it seems to me that you served a formidable apprenticeship, in a sense.
I was 9 years in rep in little places all over the country, just trying to learn my job, actually, because I came from the Elephant and Castle, where, not only could you not get into a drama school, I never knew there were drama schools, And when I came out of the army, I was working in a factory, and I was working with an old guy, and he said, what are you doing here? You're young. What are you working in a factory for? I said, well, I want to be an actor. I said, but I don't know how to do it. He said, get The Stage. He said, there's a newspaper called The Stage. He said, my daughter gets it. She's a singer. So I said, it's a paper called The Stage? He said, yeah. He said, go to the back. He said, you'll see some adverts in there for actors. I said, really? And so I took this, I got The Stage, I went over to West End, I got The Stage, and there was an advert for stage manager, small parts, And I went to a rep in Horsham in Sussex, and I got a job there as a stage manager, playing, one line at the end, and I just went at it from there. It was very, very bad pay, and the stage manager always gets the food, So I used to wait for plays we did where there were lots of meals, so I could order food, and then I'd take it home. It was great.
How broke were you? Totally broke were you?
Yeah, well, my pay was £2.50 a week, and my lodgings was £2.50. So I was in a bit of a state.
You're in trouble, though.
Yeah, I was very thin. You want to, never mind about anorexia, you want to try working in rep.
Thin but happy, eh?
Yeah, I was very happy to be an actor, yeah.
Yeah, and then you had 9 years of that. So, I mean, my point is this, is that by the time you made it when you were 30, I mean, that's when you really sort of...
Yeah, I was the last one of all my group to make it. Yes. Even my flatmate, Terence Stamp, he made it, you know.
Yes,
and Peter O'Toole, who I understudied in The Long, the Short, the Tall, he made it. Albert Finney, he made it. Everyone made it except me. And you know, and then I got this... I was in a play in the West End, and Stanley Baker came and saw me, and I went up to audition for the Cockney Soldier in it. And when I got there, they said to me, James Booth had been cast as this Cockney corporal, which I was there for. So I said, all right, thank you. And Cy Enfield, the director. And I was at the auditions were in the bar at the Prince of Wales, and I was just leaving, and he said to me, you don't look like a Cockney to me. I said, what's a Cockney look like? He said, well, little short fellas. And I was very tall and slim with long blonde hair. He said, you look like a faggy officer to me. I said, thanks, Si. He said, can you do a posh accent? I said, yeah, I can do any accent. I said, I've been in repertory for 9 years. What accent do you want? And I did an audition, and they gave me the part of the snot-nosed lieutenant, which was great.
It was a wonderful part, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, you look back at that now and see how important it was.
But it's very funny. When I thought to myself, well, he's an authority figure. I know what I'll do. I copied Prince Philip. He always has his hands behind his back, because powerful people don't have to open doors, and they don't have to wave hands at you to get your attention. You listen. So they're always very still. You know, and I put my hands behind my back, and everywhere you go in Zulu, you see me go, what's going on? And I got my hands behind my back. And Stanley Baker showed me a telegram he got from Hollywood when they saw the rushes. It said, fire Michael Caine, doesn't know what to do with hands. I mean, it is so...
Now, you're now in this situation, of course, this wonderful situation where they're making remakes, retrospectives of your work and all that.
Yeah, they've done that, yeah.
And all that, and
I tell you a funny thing. It said they're redoing Zulu. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, but they're doing it from the Zulu's perspective. He said, you'll be a dot on the other side of the...
You'll be a noise.
Yeah, there'll be a noise in the distance.
That's right. Yeah. But what's, I mean, it's great, very flattering, of course, it must be, and due society paying this sort of tribute to you. But, I mean, also, too, there must be a kind of worrying side of it, because it's kind of valedictory, isn't it? They're saying to you, push off, aren't they, or something, or what?
Yeah, when they're doing remakes, you go, well, wait a minute, why aren't I in it?
That's right.
You know? And you say, well, you're too old, son, for the part, you know. But we're remaking Sleuth. I'm remaking that with Jude Law.
I was leading up to that.
Yeah, and I'm playing the older man, obviously. I'm playing the Olivier part.
You're playing the Olivier part.
Yeah.
Now, you said to me earlier on in this interview, you said that you learned by observing people, you learned acting by observing people, that some actors observed other people. But with something like Olivier, I guess you'd actually watch him, wouldn't you, and sort of say, I mean, was there anything...
Well, he's different with Olivier. You keep your eye on him. Because he always comes up with stuff on the take that he didn't do in rehearsal.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see.
And you've got to be very aware of one of them. Him, and the other one like that was Rex Harrison. He would suddenly... And he'd be walking around on your close-up until it was a two-shot, you know. Yeah. Very, very, you know. But Larry was a great actor, and it was a great honour for me to be with him. And I was sort of intimidated, but he made me feel absolutely at ease. He was Sir Laurence Olivier, and before we started the movie, he sent me a letter saying, you may be wondering, you know, how you should address me as I'm being knighted. He said, once we've met, call me Larry forevermore. And that was it. He's Larry to me.
And now you're playing the Larry Olivier part.
Yes.
And Jude Law's playing the part.
My part, yeah.
Let's be reminded, actually, of a nice scene here between you and Olivier from that movie.
If I choose to say that my wife converses like a child of 6 and makes love like an extinct shellfish, I shall. And I don't need to ask her lover's permission to do so either.
Thank you for the drink.
Oh, no. I thought you were brought up in England. Surely you know it's not done to be rude.
You were being rude about a woman I'm in love with.
On the contrary, I was reminiscing about my wife.
I was just looking there. I've still got that jacket. But I can't get into it.
It's interesting. How long ago was that movie? Was that?
Oh, blimey, it must be 30 years ago, isn't
30
it?
years ago, right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's concentrate a little bit on this stage you're at now in your career, because your next move is to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, isn't it? I understand.
Yeah, they've given me, you know, with the pavement, in the pavement you
Yes.
get a paving stone.
Yes.
And I've always wanted one of those, you know. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I used to see movie stars with the trowel doing the thing, and I thought, I'd like to do that. Well, I got one now. But I can't find out where it is. I don't want it in some back alley somewhere. I want to be up the good end or something, you know. I want to be in Mayfair.
That's right. And what do you feel now about acting now? I mean, as you get older, and is it a question of refining what you do? Is that what happens as you get older with acting?
Yeah, it's a question of trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and to tear yourself apart, in other words. And that's why I do it. I try to get it. There's a certain moment when you will do a scene and the director says cut, and you know it was absolutely real. And you know, and everybody knows. And that's like a sort of shot of heroin, although I've never had a shot of heroin. But I imagine it's very similar. It's like a drug. And so you keep doing it and doing it, you're doing it. I had dinner, lunch today with a director who you don't know. He's never made a big movie or anything. With a tiny little script. It's no money, no British film, with no money or anything, but the part is so intense, I can hardly finish reading it every time I look at it. And so that's what I look for, is something that is going to sort of scare the daylights out of me to do, because I've done, you know, I read scripts, I say, I did that in 1975, I did this script in 1984. Yeah. Here is a script that I'd never done. And it's marvellous because the depth of it is quite extraordinary.
Would you say, looking at that, you're a driven man? Would you say that you were...
Yeah. I tell you why. I never made... I was always very poor. I mean, I don't want any sympathy or anything. A lot of people are very poor. But I never made it till I was 30, you know. And you know, it's like all those guys who sleep with loads of women, they never had their first woman until they were 21 or something, and they're trying to catch up all the time. And I'm doing that with acting. I couldn't get great parts to do, and so now I want to keep going. Anyhow, what am I going to do if I'm not acting? You know, I do gardening, I do cooking, I do travelling. It's quite boring, really. So I'm going to keep acting and hope it's not boring for other people.
Are you mellowing, do you think, as you get older?
Oh, blimey, yeah, I mellowed the moment I met my wife, you know.
Did you?
I was, oh, God, yeah.
That was 36 years ago.
36 years ago,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I've mellowed ever since.
Have you?
I lost my temper yesterday, but it was mellowed.
Well, obviously, quite obviously, I mean, to somebody like yourself, an ambitious man like yourself, having that kind of solid background is important, isn't it? You don't need any distractions at all.
Well, the great thing is if you make a success late, as I did, like the first big movie I made was when I was 29, you are already a set person. The success does not make you like being a 17-year-old rock and roll star with $100 million, you know? Yeah. So you're already your own man, and you are a man. If you've gone that far in this business, I'll tell you, it's tough. And so, you know, nothing's going to harm you or get in your way.
When you were younger, you were a bit chippy with one or two things that you said about your working class background and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, people used to start me off on class. You know, don't start me off on class, because I'll do 2 hours on it.
But I just...
The class distinction... Oh, no, go on, you.
No, it's just that I did read a remark that somebody made when they were interviewing you about the Batman movie.
Yeah.
And they said...
Oh, yeah. I thought, you know, we were out of all this class stuff, the 60s. We said, go to hell, we're doing a do... And then I play a butler in Batman, and this interviewer said to me, he said, I thought you were wonderful in Batman, and I said, thank you very much. He said, but then servants are easier to play, aren't they? And that's the closest he ever came to death. I could have strangled him. But I smiled.
And do you think he meant it in that way?
Yes, yes. He thought servants were simple, working class people were simple. I have people saying to me, I thought you were very good in that part. He said, but it must have been easy. You had a Cockney accent. And I say, so there are about 1 million Cockneys, and you think we're all exactly the same, do you? Do you realise what a racist remark that is? You know, all black people can dance.
Yes.
Two of my best friends are black, neither of them can dance. Quincy Jones.
They can't dance?
They can't dance. I dance better than they do.
Well...
And I can't dance.
So the old... So it's good to know the old fires are still there, eh?
With me, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think you ever lose them, dear, from the background you come from. You can't, can you? I mean, you remember, it doesn't seem that far away, does it?
You know what, when you get start to get older, the years go flashing by. Don't you? People say, you know, when did you do Sleuth? I say, oh, about 5 years ago. They say, no, 35, Michael. And I go, oh, is it really? And you meet little children. You say, do you remember Lulu, you know? And you look down and there's this great big bird standing in front of you and you go, oh, shit, no, I don't remember you.
I know, it's supposed to slow down, you see. You're supposed to be in that reflective phase of your life now where the days linger. You know all that?
Yeah, I don't have any of those.
You don't have any of those? No. What would you say would be, looking back again on this career and the life that you've had, what would you say has been your greatest achievement? Not necessarily a movie, you know, just a thing that you look and you think, oh, I'm rather chuffed by that.
I think it's a class thing with me. I retained my accent and never lied about my background or anything, and because when I became an actor, all actors were sort of posh, you know,
yes.
and they didn't have accents like mine. And I think my greatest achievement is really the fact that I kept my background and my accent and let every other working class guy know that it's all possible. And that seems funny now, but when I started 50 years ago, it wasn't. It wasn't, you know. And I remember everybody used to say to me, who do you think you are? When I said I was going to be an actor. Roger Moore said on television the other day, he said, Michael Caine changed his name and kept his accent. He said, I kept my name and changed my accent, and he works all the time, and I can't get a bloody job. But he doesn't need one. He's got more money than I have.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you. The film's called The Prestige. It's
yes.
a good watch, it really is. And all the best for the future. Sir Michael Caine.
Thank you.